operations. Meanwhile, the flow of volunteers, including Muslims from the United Kingdom, some of whom are Afghan veterans, continues. By early 1993, there were over 1,000 mujahideen from Pakistan, Iran, Sudan, and Libya. In addition, Iran maintains a corps of highly professional operatives, mainly Iranians from the Pasdaran and Lebanese from the Hezbollah, who provide expert training and assistance and conduct the most sensitive covert operations, intelligence and terrorism. Tehran continues to provide Sarajevo with weapons and experts. In early November 1992, more than 50 expert terrorists and instructors of the Hezbollah and the Tawhid, its Sunni counterpart under Sheikh Shaban, were sent from Balbak to Bosnia-Herzegovina to train local cadres and launch operations on their own. These trainers spearhead an ongoing Iranian effort to deploy a 2,000-strong brigade of its Al-Quds forces. All these forces receive substantial Iranian military assistance. Indeed, since the summer of 1992, there had been a marked escalation in provocations by the Muslim forces, the goal of which is to secure military intervention by the West against the Serbs and, to a lesser extent, the Croats. Initially, these provocations were mainly senseless attacks on their own Muslim population. The UN concluded that a special group of Bosnian Muslim forces, many of whom had served with Islamist terrorist organizations, committed a series of atrocities, including some of the worst recent killings against Muslim civilians in Sarajevo, as a propaganda ploy to win world sympathy and military intervention. These escalated into premeditated attacks and atrocities committed against Serbian civilians trying to flee contested areas. It is noteworthy that these Bosnian detachments are following exactly the principles of the War of the Week as outlined by the Hezbollah's Ayatollah Fadlallah.
Mr. Jovanovic, have you been shocked by this text when you saw it for the first time?
Well, certainly, because usually we have always denied these kind of stories. Nobody believed us. However, when I read the book, believe me, really, I nearly got a heart attack. I understood what is happening, and that is for the first time from the United States, a country which did most in the media to present this war in this way as it is done, to present it in a non-adequate way. I have understood by instinct that something is happening there. In this whole story, at that time, there appeared the attack on the Sarajevo marketplace, and in reading this book I found out that the French journalist Mr. Volcker said something which is contradictory to the report of UNPROFOR, and I understood then that there something exists there. Maybe it is a journalistic instinct, maybe it's something that I just understood and I tried to discover. And by hearing this news from Mr. Volcker, I have called the Washington Bureau of French State TV in Washington, and from Mr. Gauzet, who is the head correspondent, I heard from him what was the information from the French TV. And you will hear now this talk that we had. And I got the phone number of Mr. Volcker, and then therefore, I got in contact with Mr. Volcker for the first time, who is a very important person in this Volcker Gate of ours. Let's see then this first telephone interview with Mr. Gosset.
Hello? Hello, Mr. Gosset? Hi, this is Jovanovic. Can you tell me about your statement, and do you have any facts about the matter of Bosnia and what's happening in Sarajevo?
Well, about this information that the channel has given on Friday about attack on Sarajevo market, I cannot have any comment on that because it was given from Europe, from Paris, by our European correspondent called Bernard Volcker. The information was obtained by our correspondent in Brussels, and he had information from a high diplomatic source, quoting a report was made by the military UN people from Sarajevo and sent to Boutros Ghali, the UN Secretary General.
So that gentleman had a statement that...
Let me finish, please. Let me finish.
Okay.
The report was sent to Boutros Ghali after the ultimatum.
Uh-huh.
And he received it after that the ultimatum was given to the Serbs.
I see.
And the report was, according to the source, given to Lord Owen in Britain.
Uh-huh.
So the British guy, Lord Owen. You know Lord Owen?
Yes, of course.
And Lord Owen has written letters to Ministry of European countries, foreign ministries, to tell them about that.
But who has reason to stop the information? I mean, we are journalists and we should say the truth.
Well, that's why our correspondent in Brussels published the information he thought would be good information. He believed it's a good information. So a good information, it's a true information. So that's why he published it.
Hello?
Hello?
Mr. Bedard?
Yes, hello.
Hi, I'm calling from New York.
Yes?
My name is Jovanovic. The subject is your information on French television about Bosnian situation. I just spoke with your other French colleague from Channel 2 and other French press, and they said that your statement is denied. Is it correct?
No, it has not been denied. On the contrary.
Oh.
No, we have another source which has confirmed it. It has not been denied, and the newspaper today, French newspaper today, has confirmed it. The report of the UN 4, which arrived in New York, stated that the shell was launched from the Bosnian territory, but he didn't say who did it.
I see. So what's your opinion why the media are not telling the whole truth and why they're keeping the truth if it is true? I mean,
I think the only reason is that the report came out after the ultimatum.
But
it would have been too much a complication to change everything and but because the main fact is that Sarajevo is still besieged. So whatever happens with that shell, the main subject is Sarajevo. So why concentrate on who did this or that? I think they intend to go on and trying to secure some kind of peace around Sarajevo.
I see. Now, because it's a very important issue, because some people said in other sources of journalism that even the first time, about a few months ago, if you remember, there was a similar case and the Serbian side denied responsibility and they said everything was made.
Yes, you are speaking about a case in which the people were lining outside the bakery.
Yes.
Yes, I don't have anything on that, but I heard too that the Muslim did it.
As early as in mid-August, Russian officers with the UN were apprehensive about an escalation in attacks by Muslim forces of the United Nations. The first major attack was the shooting down of an Italian G-222 transport aircraft on September 3, 1992, as it approached Sarajevo. The crash investigation concluded that Muslim forces shot down the Italian transport with two sophisticated shoulder-fired SAMs. Then came the ambush of the UN relief convoy on September 8 that was carried out by a small 2 or 3 man detachment of highly trained individuals who expertly set the trap, making excellent use of the terrain and intelligence. Their tactics were virtually identical to the ambush training taught in Iran, Lebanon, and Sudan. Indeed, Brigadier General Hussein Ali Abdul Razak, the commander of the UN peacekeeping force in Bosnia-Herzegovina, specifically accused the Bosnian Muslim forces of responsibility for the September 8 ambush. In late December 1992, Bosnian Muslim forces tried to kill the 2 senior UN generals in Sarajevo. Major General Philip Morillon described the mortar shelling on his headquarters as a deliberate attack aimed at killing him and his deputy. He pointed out that the Bosnians' fighting positions were close enough to a Serbian stronghold so that the Serbs would be blamed. UN and European security officials consider these attacks to be a clear indication of a trend of intentional escalation in the anti-UN campaign waged by the Muslim militias. UN security officials in Geneva pointed out that the shooting down of the Italian transport was in line with a growing number of Muslim actions intended to scuttle moves towards peace and to provoke outside military intervention. They added that the Muslims have targeted the United Nations troops and even other Muslims in the capital of Bosnia to throw blame on the Serbs. Islamic countries as a bloc have a unique and historic opportunity to produce the desired political changes in the global system, Tehran explains. These are fateful times that must be exploited because such opportunities are unlikely to repeat themselves again in history. Therefore, Tehran concludes, the Bosnia-Herzegovina tragedy and others likely to happen in the near future should act as a wake-up calls for leaders in the Islamic countries and the big Islamic Ummah to come to their senses and accomplish their historical responsibility. Indeed, the Bosnian Muslims themselves threatened to use terrorism against Western targets if their demands were not met. Most reliable was the threat made in late January 1993, Sefer Halilovic, the commander-in-chief of the Bosnian army. If Europe does not change its attitude, we will take steps and unleash terrorist actions on its territories. Many European capitals will be ablaze.
Mr. Jovanovic, we have heard the first telephone interview with Mr. Volker. We had the opportunity to see him on the Belgrade TV before the ultimatum on February 20th. What was the impression that Mr. Volker left? It was very shocking for me. I was in New York then, and I sent this interview to the Belgrade TV, and I consider that it is very important that we hear about it, that we are not responsible for this, because this provides a moral support to us, and this has created a great shock in the world. And suddenly Mr. Volker was attacked by everybody. Where did he get this report, etc., etc.? I didn't stop there. I continued my research, and I found out that there is something which is absolutely contradictory to what we are watching on TV every day in the US and in Europe. And assuming the fact that Mr. Bodensky in the US Congress, I thought that he spoke in the U.S. Congress. The United States are a democratic country, and you have the right, quite legally, to get all the material from all participants in any sort of discussion. So under B in the archives of the Congress, I found out when was his last report in the Congress. It was in September 1992. And this report will be the subject of our research. So this report of the U.S. Congress will be presented tonight exclusively on our program. And there you have many secrets about something that we did not know in Europe. We knew what was the truth, but not the world at large. And what is the subject of this report? The establishment of the Muslim fundamentalism, which started already during the 70s particularly in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and that various organizations, terrorist organizations, Hezbollah and others, have been developing, and this document is the Iranian-European springboard. That means that already at that time, the Muslim fundamentalism is considered to take Bosnia-Herzegovina a specific springboard. And, anyway, the Muslims are in fact a religion, not a nation as they were called in Bosnia. And in this document also are hidden some secrets which we did not know that they are known to the U.S. Congress, namely about Mr. Izetbegovic, his trips and his activities, etc. Sarajevo, for me, was one of the best